we'll call this Monday, July 17th, City Council work session to order. The clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Here.
Brackman.
Aye.
Aruba.
Here. Or whatever I am.
Present. Faulkner.
Yes.
Nicholas.
I did. Oh, we didn't hear you.
Okay, I thought I heard President.
Start over.
All
right.
I'm present.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Here.
Brackman.
Here.
Aruba.
Here.
Reynolds.
Present.
Faulkner.
Present.
Eklund.
Here.
Diversa.
Here.
Russell.
Here.
President Knowles.
Here.
We did.
All right, well, that was a challenge. All you people out in the TV land, the council had a rough time getting started, but we are ready to go here. Okay. At this time, I'll give the public a chance to speak. If you'd like to address the council, please give your name and address and limit your remarks to 5 minutes to speak to the council.
No, I got nothing to say.
That'll be the first.
I know.
Doug Champ, 225 Bowen Street, Jamestown. Tonight you've got in front of you a local law that I think needs not only full attention, but it needs concurrence and ultimately adoption. For the record, I recently have spent 4 hours in housing court, along with my neighbors, about an issue that we presented some months ago. So the process in housing court is an abominable failure. It's a failure because the processes are combined with criminal court and housing court. Some may say there's a connection, I say there's no connection when you have a situation where you bring in reported criminal intent or somebody who is charged with a crime and has consequently have to be put in prison or in jail waiting for the ultimate, I guess, decision to be made. The city of Jamestown has invested millions of dollars in housing. They continue to do that for housing rehab, housing improvements, even got money for cleaning up the property. $2,500 if you want to come and get it, right, Crystal? So what we have is a situation that has been exacerbated, everyone says, by COVID in terms of not having an active housing court. Well, the housing court doesn't do much of anything. In fact, I'll ask Crystal, how many cases have you reached completion on that you brought up that have gone through court and has any kind of final abatement?
Through court?
Yeah.
Not very many.
Not very many, it's like 5, 2, 1, 0,
Probably less than 20.
less than 1,
20.
20. But they're still out there, they're not fully done yet, or they're all done?
No, oftentimes they're still out there. We have repeat offenders,
Okay.
so they may go to
Here's
court
what
and
we've got in
then go back to
Jamestown.
court.
We got housing non-compliant by choice. The enforcement that that officer does with Crystal leadership is doing their great job of trying to bring the issues in terms of abating them, but you've got a court system that refuses to treat them in that kind of way. What? Because they got more priorities to do, you only got one judge, and you can't do it, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm tired of excuses. 4 hours in housing court. I don't know, when's the last time any of you as council people have gone to housing court? Have you gone this year, last year? Have you ever gone to housing court?
I did it for 20 years.
You're as a council person.
No, as a police officer.
Okay, I'm asking, I think you ought to spend some time in housing
I
court.
did, Doug had told you.
I think it's important you understand what you're approving in the city regarding housing and the support thereof. 4 hours, and then I had a witness Charles Manson coming in with no shirt on. Where's the decorum? I don't know. Anyway, we can't seem to get anything resolved here. So this effort that Crystal has put together, and there'll be some massaging on this, is to relieve the surplus problem of issues in front of city court regarding housing. They're small. They're not structure, not a burn unit that's condemned and you gotta take it down. It's basically things that are resolvable in a short period of time. And even if they don't do it on the ticketing, they have a chance to comply. So what did this do? It does a good thing. I mean, it's nothing bad here. Now, between me and my fellow neighbors, okay, and there's some that aren't here, we would spend collectively 150 years in the city of Jamestown, collectively. That also means spent 45 years of paying taxes, which is okay. That's what you live in the city or anywhere else for services. The housing services are not being rendered by the court to back up Crystal's department, where the housing inspector sit in there for hours, not even know if the issue is going to come to court. I sat there for 4 hours and nothing happened. 2 separate times. Go back Friday of this week, and I would ask my council people who represent me at large, and the president who represents me as in my district, come to the housing court. Take a look and see for yourself of how inefficient, ineffective that court is. So this allows us to go back or resolve to some extent the ability for the housing inspector to be appreciated of the job that they do to get some of this stuff off the court billing. It's nothing but trying to make things better in this community. So don't turn a blind eye on this. Don't wait till after the election. Get it done now. That's my hope for this quality of life ticketing. Now, I hope somebody else has got something to say.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else?
My name's Roseanne Himes, and I live at 218 Bowen Street. I'm sure Crystal and Maria are sick of hearing what I have to say, but we've been at our home for over 43 years, and our neighborhood's always been a really nice neighborhood, and it's going downhill. There's a couple people now that have moved in, and just things are happening, and we're frustrated because a neighbor now has put in a swimming pool. There's no permit. There's no compliance with the laws. They have unregistered vehicles. They're not mowing their lawn. Their dog craps out front, and they don't pick it up every day. It's ridiculous. And another house, they're letting their shrubbery grow up all over the place, and it's really getting frustrating for us. And I used to work for the city. Some of you might know that, but when I used to work for the building inspector, they were allowed to, they went on private property and handed people tickets and looked and see if there's unregistered cars, and I don't know, they were allowed to do that back then. I don't know why they're not now, but it just seems like we make all these laws and then nothing gets enforced. Now we have a neighbor that just moved in. He's a nice kid, but now he's parking his car on the front lawn, and it's like, do I go tell him, hey, that's illegal? I don't want him to, hate being in the neighborhood now and do other things, but we're just, I don't know. It's just very frustrating. And we just want to be able to call someone and, get somebody down there. The building inspector, I called this phone number, and his message is from March. It's like, why would you even want to leave a message if nobody's even checking it? That's what his greeting is, from March. So it's just, things like that. We're just getting very frustrated, and I don't want to see the city. I know it's already going downhill. I just don't want to see it get worse. We want to see things getting better. And we saw someone the other day moving out of their house. They're throwing everything on the terrace, and the stuff that they threw there could be put in their garbage can, and the city would pick it up. But they just threw everything out there, and it's just sad that we can't call someone to come while they're doing it, I guess. And
Is it still there?
yeah, it's still there.
Where is it?
On Newton.
Oh, the
Yeah.
okay. I did
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's all I have to say, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Mhm. Anyone else like to address the council?
We just don't want our neighborhoods to start looking like, you know, you drive down neighborhoods and you got orange signs on all these houses. I mean, what's going on? That's all you see. The other day, I look on my
You need to,
Yeah.
for the record,
Oh,
please stand up, identify
Terry
yourself,
Hines.
name and address.
218 Bowman Street. You know, the other day I look out the house and there's a shopping cart sitting there. Now, I know the police got a lot to do and, you know, but, you know, if they're done on regular patrol and they see someone going down the street with a shopping cart, I know it's not the crime of the century, but where you going? It's stealing. I mean, you know, take the shopping cart and go back where you got it and, you know, do something about it. Nobody does nothing. If you call for an illegal parked car, nobody comes. I was told by an ex-police officer, and I have not, you guys believe me, I know what you're going through. You call for an alternate parking, nobody comes. When I used to work for the city, if we were out plowing and there was a car that was illegally parked, tow truck came with a police officer and they were gone. You got them out there because fire trucks can't get through, ambulances can't get through. City, same thing at downtown, the signs are up, 2 a.m. to whatever. You're off the streets. If you're not, you got towed at night. But nothing's done. They passed laws, no parking on the front yard. I remember when that was passed by council. Cars all over the place on the front yards. Nobody does nothing about it. Terraces look like heck. Howard Pitt, when he was the director, if someone was parked on their terrace, you'd get a tow truck down there and a police officer, and they'd tow that car off that terrace because you're just causing damage. You're driving up over the curbs and you're causing damage on the terraces and on the sidewalks. I've seen it for years. That's it.
Thank you.
I wasn't gonna talk, but I will. Melissa Paternetti, 6 Faulkner Street. I guess I'm just gonna piggyback, because this morning I sent a picture of someone pushing a shopping cart down the street with a bra on, with pants. I don't even know, it looked like they had underwear up here, pushing the cart like they were just, like that was their means of transportation. And one of the things that I've noticed is, since the bird scooter idea came around, that everybody thinks that they went out and bought them. And there's no regulations written anywhere in the city of Jamestown for people riding scooters, correct? Am I wrong, right?
There's state regulations.
Is there state regulations? Okay, so do they need to wear a helmet? Do they not need to wear a helmet? Do they, when they're going 35 miles an hour down Fairmount Avenue into Jamestown on the sidewalks now? Like, I mean, the one I saw today was going on Fairmount Avenue probably about 35 miles an hour. And I just, it just makes me so nervous when I see that. And more I see those driving down the street. But the shopping cart thing is absolutely out of control. I thought that was a felony, stealing a shopping cart. No, yes? No? It's not? Does it go back to the store? Like the responsibility is the store's responsibility?
The store would be the victim or the complainant. They would actually have to file a deposition with the police stating that they want that individual arrested for possession of stolen property.
So if you see a Big Lots shopping cart on the
police
corner,
have to go to
you
Big
call
Lots.
Big Lots.
Yeah, Big Lots has to sign a deposition saying, yes, we want this person arrested for having a shopping cart on Bowen, it belongs to us. We would like them arrested for possession of stolen property.
It's my
We
understanding
didn't give them permission.
The police were picking them up, city workers were,
Yeah.
and then contacting, but now they've had so many of them that they just collect them and then they tell them,
I mean, it's,
come and get them if you want them, otherwise they're gonna go to scrap
It's
it.
definitely-
Expensive.
It's definitely an issue.
They're not cheap.
yeah. I mean, it's, you know, it's right along with the lawnmower. You know what I mean? Like lawnmowers, scooters. You know, I saw a tricycle, like an adult tricycle driving down the street, and I was like, okay. I mean, I get it, you know, and I get that people have to get places, and there, you know, I mean, there's a lot of people walking around Jamestown. You know, I mean, have we ever done a pedestrian study, you know, on how people get around? And you know, I mean, walkers, you drive around the city after midnight, it's scary town.
Yeah.
It's scary around. you see people all over, and it scares me that our police officers are out there having to deal with this. You know, this isn't Jamestown. Whatever is going on here is not the place that we all grew up. Because if you add all these years up, we're almost at 200 years together. So I think that you know, as we talk to you guys, and you know, the mayor's not here tonight, there were several things that I was going to bring up about a lot of the things that are going on in the city that I think that are being neglected, and one of the biggest things, and I still have my 3 minutes from the DPW meeting, is the houses that have caught fire that sit there. I am over it, and I understand that there's going to be houses that are going to be demoed, but you know, these houses have sat there for 3 or 4 years. I bet there's what, 12, 13, 14, 40. You know, we have a list that we've checked off as we drive around to see how long they've been sitting there, and I'm pretty sure all of these fires have happened in the last 4 years. And it is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting that we allow that to continue to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I guess just a comment, the chief has been giving us reports and people have been ticketed for riding bicycles on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
They are trying to crack down on some of these things, they don't get everyone every time, but we do get a report from the chief about all the tickets that they are issuing for a lot of the things that you are complaining about in terms of people riding illegally, doing things illegally.
Well, there's,
So just,
police are busy, they can't
oh,
be
I
everywhere
know,
at
but I
once.
mean, the nuisance officer was hired specifically to deal with these quality of life issues, and they are making a difference. There are people that are repeat offenders, that no matter what you do, they're not going to stop doing what they choose to do. But some people will, after being fined or being ticketed, will decide that they're not going to do it again. But just to know, we are doing something, there is an effort being made, this is not being ignored, which is why we got the nuisance officer, because much of what all of us here around the council, including the mayor's office, get are issues that you are describing, that there's a problem, and you're right, it's not high up. If they've got something that's an emergency, it's going to take precedence over a vehicle parked on a lawn, or somebody riding illegally, doing something without a helmet. That's not gonna be the priority. So, you know, we're doing what we can, but there is an impact being made, and hopefully, you know, that officer's only been on since about the 3rd week of May.
Yeah, and I mean, I was at the meeting on Thursday, and Jeff had said, you know, 2 Thursdays ago at Allen Park, and Jeff had said, like, you know, I mean, he's addressing those concerns, but he's one person.
Right.
And, you know, there was one thing written on Facebook that said something about barking dog for like 3 hours, 4 hours, you know, and I mentioned the nuisance officer, and they said that, you know, it's hard because that's going on, but then when the nuisance officer might come, it's not happening, you know, or whatever, so.
Well, that officer does work the evening shift too, so
Yeah.
when a lot of these complaints come in is when people are home and people are doing it, so. We're working on it, hopefully we'll see an impact. And
I would
hopefully
encourage
we'll-
both of you to continue to call the police and stuff, continue to call the DOD, call me, and you know where I live, so I'm right there. Call me, I'll answer your phone. If I don't, leave a message.
Just trying to save the neighborhood.
I
you
can
know what I mean?
promise you that my voicemail is not from Marsh. So call me and leave a message, I'll address it.
Well, the thing is, when we used to work for the city, you know, if you call around a certain time, nobody's in the offices. They're all at lunch. When we worked, someone had to stay by the phone in case there was an emergency or they needed something. They all go to lunch at the same time and nobody's there. I don't get that. I don't get that at all.
Continue to call me.
Yeah, we will.
A lot of times, we don't know this stuff until, in my experience, when people call, it helps to expedite the situation. Not knowing, you know, what the specifics are, but, you know, again, the nuisance officer, just an example, I made a house call last week, and he came up, he actually came in the evening, met with the people, he solved the problem for them. He went to the next door neighbor, and so, you know, it does help to contact any of us, or, you know, your council rep, or any of the at-large people, so we know, because we get flooded with emails and text messages and phone calls, and we respond to the ones we know about, but we can't, if we don't see it or know about it, we can't, it's tough to keep up on it. But again, the nuisance officer he's doing a fantastic job, and he has addressed several issues and solved a lot of issues in the neighborhoods, and he's been responsive and quick with that. So it's been good. And again, you're not gonna be able to solve everything right away, but keep chucking away at it. And this is the time of year when you get all that.
And I'm not saying this to make any excuses, but just to give people a perspective, I was talking to a uniformed police officer the other day from GPD, who had arrived at work to start their shift, and there was 45 calls on the screen. Many of them that were older calls, but they were still sitting there. So that just gives you an idea of how busy they are, especially in the summertime. And then obviously dispatchers, they prioritize those calls, but still continue to call. Don't ignore it. You shouldn't have to see that stuff. You shouldn't see your neighborhood declining that way. You continue to call me or your ward representative. Continue to call DOD in the city, and I promise you that I will hammer it.
Thanks.
Jeff, if I could piggyback on that.
Sure.
So DOD, and I know this because I looked at my messages on the city attorney, and then I looked at DOD's first messages. They had 75 voicemails from this weekend regarding those properties with the orange. So we have one individual DOD taking those voice calls, and she had 75 of them this morning that she was just on the phone continuously returning. So, but if you bring it to the council member, keep calling.
That's what we don't want. We don't want to start seeing orange signs coming down our way now, and there goes another one down.
But it goes back to the exercise of enforcement. The final outcome is how successful you are in remedying what the call and complaint is all about. If you delay it and pass it on to court, it goes to house court, going nowhere, no matter of time. So we're right back to where we started from. And Crystal's purpose is to resolve some of that a little bit in an effective way, so all this doesn't have to go to court. So even if I call my councilman, the councilman does what he should do, reacts, inspector shows up, police show up, then it goes to court. Then we wait.
Months.
And there are people that are afraid because of intimidation, I'm not one of them, of what will happen if they complain. They don't call because they're afraid that somebody will do something to them. So you gotta be sure that, that doesn't happen, but it can. So it's a very precarious world we're in. It's got to do something with proper behavior, instilling it, making sure that it does effectively help everyone that we're involved with. But the court system is an abject failure when it comes to housing enforcement. Not the inspectors, not Department of Development, the housing court. If you don't believe me, sit in there like I did for 4 hours.
I think with the idea that's before us tonight that we're gonna get to here in a little bit, the quality of life ticketing, it's hopefully going to work through that quagmire that you're talking about. So I think this is an excellent idea that's before us tonight, and we'll get to that here. I think it's going to possibly help and clear things up.
Well, it's hard to, the police got so much to do. They need to hire more police officers in this city. I mean, they need help. Especially when all this is going on around here. They need help.
Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to our
Committee meetings, committee reports. We'll start with finance.
I'm gonna try and get through them relatively quickly like we did in finance, but there are a few that we're looking for a little bit more explanation on. So the first resolution is to, warrants be drawn and paid to respective owners, paying agent, $49,925 with bond improvement plan of issue of November 19th, 2013, defeasance of a 2004 Chautauqua County IDA bond. That was approved. Number 2, resolve that warrants be drawn and paid on the respective owners and paying agent the sum of $38,456.00 in accordance with the bond and note requirements for a public improvement bond Series A, issue of April 22, 2015, for $38,456.26. That was approved. Resolution number 3, we tabled to next month. I'm still waiting, and I know that they're working on it, as a summary of expenses year to date for the account and all of that stuff. And I know we had mentioned tabling it till we got a little closer, so that is moved to next month. Resolution number 4, County Health Department is applied for federal funding under HUD Healthy Homes Production Grant Program. Crystal, it's a sum of $1,378,316.54, and there wasn't a whole lot of backup attached, so I'm kind of looking for a little more information.
Okay, I can provide you with the application, and that has all the narrative and all of that. It's, the funding will go to actually doing, the majority of it will be to go toward doing the rehab work. So
Okay.
it's a Healthy Homes Production Grant. It's essentially everything but lead. So the county has their lead poisoning prevention grant. This piggybacks off of it, and will kind of work to leverage our home funds, the county's lead program and other programs. But this will address specifically things like radon, air quality in homes, mold, insulation, making sure that things are airtight and that sort of thing. So the majority of there is some administrative that will come to the city, but the majority of it is to actually do the rehab.
Okay, is this some kind of, something that I had seen a blast on Facebook about some grants people could apply for? Is this related to that? It wasn't ARPA.
No, because this has not been rolled out yet because we don't have an executed contract.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
You might have seen the home ARP grant for the rental rehab, which is one of our programs. And that was approved already before.
Okay, so it was approved pending that, a little more explanation, so. Resolution number 5 is authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Greenman Pedersen of Buffalo to prepare engineering drawings to replace a portion of the fire station number 5 floor at 189 Fairmount Avenue in an amount not to exceed $16,500 and no cents, and this was previously allocated and funded through ARPA. That was approved. Resolution number 6, the mayor and deputy fire chief are authorized to enter into an agreement with Gorman Enterprises of Alma for the purchase of one 2023 Class 3 Chevrolet 3500 chassis type 3 ambulance body for a total amount not to exceed $217,741.00. Just a quick question, the original ARPA approval was for $247 or $250, is that correct?
That's correct. So just a little bit of clarification, if I may, for the council members.
Yep.
When I went through and we did our bid tabulation, which was part of your packet, this does include funding to put the load system and the stretcher in. So it's the vehicle, when I first looked at it, it looked like I said it was just for the chassis and the ambulance body. This also includes, as part of that bid, the stretcher lift system. It does not include any striping, extra wheels or tires, radios. That
So
would be
you're
something that would
estimating
be.
that you're gonna eat up the difference in other expenditures with the ambulances?
Correct.
Correct?
That's what
That's correct.
we thought that, but.
That, we thought that, but we just wanted clarification.
Yep, that is correct.
That was approved. Resolution number 7, and 8 relate to the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, and I have asked the city clerk to prepare a resolution similar to number 10 to accept the grant as it is in total, because I don't believe we have done that, but resolution number 7 is to use part of the $284,291 of that grant. Resolution 7 will use $252,768.35 to purchase 40 Motorola portable radio receivers and accessories for the fire department, and this was the conditions of that fiscal year 2021 assistance to firefighters grant. That was approved. Resolution number 8 is to also use some funding from that grant for a total of $30,078.00 from the same grant to purchase 72 Sterling FCX personal escape kits for a total amount not to exceed that. That was approved. The only question I had, I know we added money to the budget for the purchase of this. Are you planning on reutilizing what was in the budget or leaving it for the over-under?
We have several ideas on what we may be able to apply those other funds to, but there's been no funds expended out of that account as it was laid out in the general fund budget for
Okay.
2022.
If, before you spend though, I mean, I know we allocated it, but it would be nice to have the discussion as to what, since
yeah.
we approved it for specifically this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It'll certainly come to council before we had spent one nickel out of that account.
Great, thank you. Resolution number 9, in April, we approved the replacement of 5 firefighters who were budgeted through attrition and or left the department, and this resolution is to send those 5 recruits to training at the New York State Office of Fire Prevention and Control in Montour Falls beginning July 31st and concluding November 10th, with fees and expenses paid pursuant to Section 77B of the General Municipal Law. That was approved. Resolution number 10, the mayor is authorized to accept a grant agreement with the U.S. Department of Transportation for Safe Streets for All Planning Grant, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. Crystal, is this your department as well? Or
This
no?
is through our office and DPW.
The grant amount is $248,685.44 in case you're wondering. That was approved. Resolution number 11, the mayor is authorized to execute an agreement with R. Patty Concrete and Excavating of Jamestown for concrete work on Juliet Street reconstruction for a total bid amount of $173,435.00, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. That was approved. Resolution number 12 is change order number 1 with R. Patty Concrete Excavating of Jamestown for concrete work of Lafayette and West 10th.
And
Total, and 11th, excuse me. Total reconstruction 2023 based on the change order dated July 10th, 2023 for a total change of $18,493.50 savings. That was approved. Resolution number 6, we had a discussion and there will be or 13, there will be a change to the verbiage of that, where it states whereas 3/4 of the members of council, we have asked that it change to say a definitive number of 6, because 3/4 of council is 6.75.
We did have a discussion that Andrew's only 3/4 of that.
So we asked that to change to 6, but regardless of that, to take bids for the purchase of 1 rooftop unit by Flow Air due to the need for an emergency replacement. And that's to enter into authorized and directed to purchase for the Parks Department from Stark Tech Operating LLC 1 rooftop unit by Flow Air for installation at Russell E. Dietrich Park for the total amount not to exceed $85,725. Subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. That was approved. Resolution number 14 is to actually take the funds from, to apply increase appropriations, $85,725 in the Parks Department, and to decrease the contingency account the same amount of $85,725.00. That was approved. Resolution number 15. Project for Betterment Project Agreement Controller's Contract. Again, we were a little confused about this, and I think this is yours, Mark, so we were looking for a little bit more information as well.
So this was already approved. Once this is the work that was done by CATCO on Washington Street to pave the radiuses into our side streets,
Okay.
and the state needed it on their verbiage, basically, for the resolution. So it's the same resolution that we already passed, it just needs to be in their
Their turn.
template.
So do we have to have a resolution to rescind the one we've already approved? Then, I would think. Okay. Thank you, Jen. Resolution number 16 is the hiring freeze, instituted a freeze for permanent full-time and also part-time to full-time. This is to lift the freeze and hire one engineer in the Department of Public Works, and this is vacant due to an upcoming retirement. It's approved. Resolution number 17 is that the mayor and Mark Ritzer can authorized and directed to purchase for the Parks Department from Land Pro of Falconer via Sourcewell contract a John Deere 4066R compact tractor to replace unit number 229 for a total amount not to exceed $40,331.42. Also applied to this, not as you saw in the backup. The reason it is $40,000 is they are doing a trade-in for $26,000. That was approved. Resolution number 18, designating $10,000 and no cents in American Rescue Plan Act lost revenue funds for the purpose of funding the salt brine system. This $10,000 is because the time we have made the initial resolution for the salt brine, we were $10,000 short from today's pricing. So this is to increase the allotment, and that was approved. And resolution number 19 is that they can actually purchase from Henderson Products of Manchester, Iowa, one salt brine system for a total amount not to exceed $195,000 and no cents, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. Again, this is ARPA funding, and that was approved. Other than that, we had nothing. I know we talked about something Elliot has for executive session, which can I mention, and that was it.
Okay, we'll move on to housing. Marie?
Okay, you've already heard everyone who spoke at the housing committee meeting has already raised the same issues here, so I won't go into that again. But we did have a little bit of time to talk about the quality of life ticketing that has been presented as a new ordinance. We all got, or you should have, the Director of Development handed on new sheet. There were a couple of changes. We did find one error with a cut and paste, but I'll let the Director of Development go into it further because I think, you know, everyone is agreed that housing complaints take a long time and a lot of energy to deal with these quality of life issues that don't get resolved very quickly. And if this can help move things along and get them resolved in a more timely manner, I don't know that anyone is opposed. They do have a lot of complaints, as you can hear, 75 in one day from a weekend. Makes it very difficult to be responsive, but they do have an anonymous complaint system to address it if people do have complaints. I've filed many for people that have contacted me, many who don't even live in my ward, who I will file a complaint for them. They don't have to give me their name. I don't put their names into it. If they're afraid of being harassed or bothered by a neighbor, they will never find out who filed it. But there are other opportunities, and this looks like a good plan to try to do something that may be more immediate and more effective. So go ahead, Crystal, I'll let you.
Well, I think you covered it pretty well.
Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if anybody does have, you know, this is I guess it was presented as a draft version. The team worked on it. There are several areas. We did have a question about open fires. That is not what is meant by barbecue grills or smokers. It's people cooking on things that are really not appropriate for cooking and claiming that they're cooking. I've dealt with that issue in my ward, so I'm very familiar with that one. With the air quality right now, we don't need to have open fires, period. Along with the fact that things are dry, we don't need to have people shooting fireworks off. Are actually fireworks included as part of this because some of them
I didn't
give up?
see it.
What?
I didn't see it.
They're not,
I
don't know if they're-
That is one of the biggest ones around Memorial Day, 4th of July, and actually.
They're already together.
Yeah, also, but actually in
Yeah.
Buffalo, they have had people
So
banana porches causing fires and
Yeah.
people have actually died, so.
fireworks are already, ticketed directly by the nuisance officer or any police officer. Fireworks are not something that, code enforcement, I think is even supposed to ticket for. So I think we don't wanna duplicate that, this is more quality of life, and these are all things that code enforcement, certainly, JPD, and then our fire code inspector can, ticket for, so. They include, animal maintenance and waste or feces cleanup, exterior junk and debris, high weeds, grass, or plant growth, dangerous trees, unauthorized motor vehicles, which includes unregistered vehicles, vehicles that are parked in front yards or illegally parked, and then the prohibited burn. So these are some of the more common ones that we see, and some of the ones that make the most sense for us to address directly rather than try to bring them through the lengthy court process. We feel that process, particularly with the backlog that we have, makes more sense to bring the cases that are more public health, life safety, structural type things through the court process, and this will give us an ability to hopefully address the quality of life stuff quicker.
One of the issues was raised about safety, how these would be issued, and she did indicate that 2 code enforcement officers quite often will go to address when somebody's being cited, that there can be an attachment to the door, they may be mailed, there are a couple of methods, but there was some question or concern about public safety of the code enforcement officers when they were handling this. Also, we talked about the consistency of ticketing so that they will look very similar to other tickets issued by the city. So trying to make it formal and make it familiar to people, that will make it easier to probably get them to comply, we hope. So, I think it's a good first effort. If anybody does have any questions, Councilman Sheldon found a duplication of something that was a cut and paste edit, so.
Open fire.
Yeah.
Open fire.
Yeah, the open fire, but I'm saying, yes. But if anyone else thinks there's anything that needs to be added or addressed, someone did raise in the discussion why we are not able to jail people for these offenses, and it's a civil matter, and we don't put people in jail for civil penalties. So, that was, what?
Just some clarifications on,
Which one?
on the animal maintenance and waste, is that within an individual
It's
property or?
Exterior.
I know, but is
So
it
in
the
their front
public, the
yard.
private property?
So if it's in their front yard, if it's someplace that, right, you're walking on the sidewalk and it's in the terrace or it's in their front yard, again, backyard, we still have the same restrictions, we cannot go into someone's backyard without an inspection warrant, so if we do get a complaint for that, we would have to go through the process of getting an inspection warrant before we can go enter
And
their
then we just-
backyard.
Maybe that should be clarified. The other one too, I noticed like the dangerous tree, that would be within their property, like individual property, obviously it wouldn't be a city tree then.
Right,
Yes.
correct.
The only concern I have with that is, that's only $25 more than someone not mowing their lawn. 15 days is kind of, that's tough. I just had a tree taken down and it was $3,000, and if you don't have $3,000 to take a huge tree down in your front yard, 15 days is, I mean, I just think it needs a little more. Like, how many complaints, is there a complaint, someone says this tree hangs over my yard, or I just wanna make sure that we're covered legally to have a city arborist or city employee make a determination on a private property and putting someone in a position where they can't take care of it in the amount of time that you've put in there.
Would my guess be that someone who's making an effort to get it done, because you can only do it when you've got somebody qualified to take the tree down.
You may
So
not be
if
able to
you-
get someone to.
But I'm just saying, if you've made the effort, I'm assuming there would not be a penalty if you could show, I've got somebody coming, this is who's coming, they're that would be my guess, if there would be some, because that's what you want compliance.
Yes.
We're not looking to penalize
It's
people
really
for
not
making
about
the
the
efforts. It's the same
More
thing,
so about
yeah.
the threat of the fine.
But I'm just saying, we're gonna
And-
get that question.
But it's the
Sure.
same thing with.
So if it is, so the so Dan Stone will be asked to take a look at the tree, make an assessment. If it is something that is so much a threat to public life, health, and safety that it needs to come down, we will talk about how to make that happen. If it's hanging over the public right of way, I think that that's something that DPW or Parks might consider at least cutting that portion.
Okay, I just wanna-
That's something that we'll address
I mean, I'm not
in those
opposed to it, I just
circumstances,
think
but
there needs to be some
But
clarification.
you're
Yeah.
right, I think there's going to be some allowance that someone making, just like anything else, if somebody's got peeling paint and you can't get somebody to come and, a senior citizen that can't get somebody, or right now, with all the contractors being busy with ARPA projects, it's very hard to get something done. If you're making a good faith effort to try to do it, just like court would do if you actually went in and said, look, I've got these contractors, I'm at their mercy, they can't come until the weather's better, till they finish another job, I can't fix this until they're available. I think if you're making an effort in good faith to do something, no one's looking to penalize them. Yes, it's like anything else, you know?
Cause some of these are, I mean, common sense and easy things.
But if you do it and then you do it again and then you do it again, your fines are gonna double and triple and.
No, that's fine.
And it's looking to get those people to become repeat offenders, you know, hopefully.
Defend that and explain that so that the public knows and,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got it
That's a
covered.
good point.
One thing, Chris, on quality of life 3, high weeds, grass, or plant growth. It says no shrubs or bushes shall impede motorist vision from the road. I think trees need to be added to that sentence there, because there's some trees that, some of them are city owned, of course, but there are some privately owned trees that are blocking even traffic lights. There's one
Yeah.
on 6th Street that's just like that.
Will you be able to go back and find people and ticket people that have that the complaint has already been made? Once it's passed, will you be able to go
No.
back? No.
No.
From that point.
Start from that point.
It's in the Constitution.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Right, Elliot?
Yes.
So my hope with this is if there are any other comments or questions or concerns, if you can get them to me, in the next week, I would love to have this ready to go, at the next voting session.
That'd be good.
We do have some internal logistics to work through, but, if everyone is confident that this is ready to go, we'll be ready.
That's great. Good work. Yeah, and again, I'm just trying to come up with the
Yeah, absolutely.
devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's why we do this, right?
Can you look into whose voicemail is back from March and maybe get that changed?
I'm going to ask.
Yeah, okay, no, hey.
I will say, it's not really easy to change your voicemail on the phone, so, but we will find out.
Okay, anything else?
That was it.
Thank you. That's a lot of good work there, and I think it's a step in the right direction. And again, it's not gonna be perfect, but anything we can do to help these quality of life issues that everybody, especially in the summertime, it seems to be more apparent with garbage and feces and bushes and grass and all that stuff. So the sooner we can get a handle on this, just like the nuisance officer who started, and it took time to get that position going, but once we got it going, it's working. It's making a dent, okay? And any little dent we can make in this as well is a step in the right direction. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to public safety. Brennan?
Mr. President, we had 5 resolutions, all dealing with the fire department. They were all approved by the finance committee. They were all approved by public safety as well. We also discussed the quality of life ordinance. Chris will explain it to us, answer questions. No action was taken at this point. It was a draft ordinance and continues to evolve. We did approve a block party, the annual block party on Hunter Street on Saturday, August 19th, with a rain date of Sunday, August 20th. Special event application for the Glow Your Mind 5K held on Saturday, July 22nd. That was approved.
Where is that?
downtown by the ice arena. I think
At the
it's
ice
called.
rink,
The Lucille Ball Comedy Festival, is back bigger than ever. It's gonna be held August 2nd through August 6th with events on 3rd Street and 2nd Street, also Lafayette will be closed off. That was approved. And we did have one special event application, was an amendment to the Lunar Pyros, I think it's the Tuesday night get down or Wednesday night get down. They want to add a band one night on August 23rd, and originally they were just going to have drum circles, so we said that needs to be an amendment, so we approved that as well. And that was it. Took a long time.
Any questions? I just wanted to read something for everyone. I didn't read it during public safety. We're talking about paying and ordering an ambulance at roughly $250,000. We went through that contentious situation with the FEMA grant and all the money for that. One thing that no one is talking about is our contract with UPMC and All-Star. That's kind of been pushed by the wayside. We've continued to push more and more and more work on our firefighters at Jamestown Fire Department. And it seems like the contract that we sat down, some of us were here, some of us weren't, back in 2020, downstairs in the beginning of COVID. We signed a contract with UPMC. We had 2 representatives from UPMC who presented that contract to us. I asked during that meeting, how were things going to change as far as the level of service that was going to be provided to the city. They assured that they had hired X number of EMTs, they trained people in-house, and that things were going to change. And I just wanted to read a section of that contract from 2020 and what they said that they would be providing to the city. It states, All-Star shall dedicate 2 fully equipped, appropriately staffed ALS or BLS level ambulances to serve individuals within city limits 24 hours per day, 7 days per week, as requested by the applicable Emergency Communication Center by or on behalf of a patient or otherwise. All-Star shall make best efforts to maintain these ambulances at the ALS level. In no event shall All-Star provide less than 2 providers per ambulance except in cases of emergency. I just bring this forward and wanted to read that to everyone to remind people, because you know, there's been this push lately, obviously by the mayor, for public safety, having news briefings on public safety, but this contract has been pushed to the wayside. And I think as a municipality and as an administration, we are not holding UPMC as an entity to this contract, because this is getting violated every single day, or nearly every single day, and no one is saying anything about it. Instead, what we're doing is we're continuing to push more and more work on our firefighters. We're allocating millions of dollars to hire more firefighters. We're buying second ambulances, and everyone's ignoring this contract. And I don't bring it forward, I'm not bashing the workers of All-Star. They are doing the best that they can with what's given. I bring this forward because I am calling out the administration and the entity of UPMC to stand by this contract, because they're not doing it now, and they're violating it on nearly a daily basis. And it's putting a larger burden on the city, on our firefighters and our public safety, because for years under Mayor Teresi we operated with a handshake agreement. There was nothing in writing. Our mayor now brought individuals from UPMC All-Star, and they presented this to us, and they told us, and I still have the recordings available, that they were going to fix the problem, and they haven't fixed the problem. The burden has continued to fall on the city, and I think the Corporation Council, and I think the mayor, I think they need to start calling out UPMC as an entity, not the workers, but as an entity. Why are you not following this contract that you presented to us and that we all signed, we voted on, and we agreed upon?
For clarification, Councilman Russell, what is the claim that they are not living up to, so we can,
Two ambulances.
What I just read to you.
the 2 ambulances, the 2 fully staffed ambulances at an ALS or BLS level?
Yes. I've talked to workers at All Star that say that they sometimes are operating alone.
And the
I
2
know.
and the staffing.
What's that?
And the staffing level as well?
Yes. So my point is why are we signing contracts? Why are we getting involved in contracts if we're not gonna hold people to these contracts? And I think the administration needs to sit down with UPMC and All Star and say, why are you not fulfilling your duties on this contract? Because I don't think it's happening. I think this is being violated all the time.
Certainly look into it.
Okay?
All right, move on to Public Works, Randy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. We had 16 resolutions, and rather than read through them, they were all covered in finance, and we did approve all of those. We did have a discussion about the one resolution where the city is going to go to a salt brine de-icing technique, and they're going to get that operation up and running. And of course, it was $10,000 more, and they want to be able to get it inside to produce the brine. So it's going to be a liquid brine that's going to pre-treat the salt that goes down on the roads from the trucks. And so we hope to get it done by sometime in the middle of the winter, because we're waiting on the Washington Street garage to be built, so we have the room. So we did talk about they are going to go to that this winter. Also was discussed and addressed was during some of the heavy rain, the flash flooding that had happened down on Washington Street, down in the old Gerton's Flowers and that area down there. And so the DOT has been notified that they're gonna have to come down and check out, because they did install drainage. Now, is it gonna be adequate to handle the water? Mark has told us that the DOT's been notified, they've gotta come down and look at, see what had happened down there. Okay. Another thing is, the signs, some of the signs on Washington Street are obstructed by tree limbs, and there has to be, either the signs have to be moved, or probably needs a little more trimming there on Washington Street, up by 5th and Washington. And the striping is not 100% complete, is that right, Mark? Yeah, so people ask all the time about the hash marks that are there, and a little bit more of other striping. They're coming back for that. Okay, and those hash marks are there for the reason to basically warn of the, because people ask me and others all the time, they're there to warn people that there's a bike lane right there, and so basically keep vigilant of that. So it's just a warning system. Another resident on the end of Mason Street, they live on a paper street, and that is a little, it's getting really bad down there, so the city's gonna come down and put some millings and roll it down for the people down there. There's no curb there, so it's not paved road, so we're gonna do something about that. And other than that, I I think that was about it out of Public Works.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our committee reports. Mayor's not here this evening, so there'll be nothing from the mayor to report. We do have 2 items for executive session under personnel. So if there's, unless there's anything else that anyone wants to bring up before we go into executive session, I'll take a motion for executive session. So move second. All in favor?
Aye.
No action, Elliot? Okay, just 2 personnel items. And who would be asked to stay?
Just myself.
Just yourself.